Since the news broke that a new class is coming to Darktide soon, we've been left to wait on pins and needles for the announcement on November 11th. November 18th. And as a community, I have to say, I think we've been handling it really well. While we wait, we might as well have some fun and speculate. We're going to do mini dives into some different options for what Darktide's next class might be. This one is an option that will probably never happen in a million years, but would be amazing if it did. The Felinids of Warhammer 40k. This is a more obscure species of abhuman, so we'll explore what they are, their history in 40k, and explain why it will never happen because Games Workshop are cowards. Obey my cat! Hit the subscribe button. Speaking of cats, Felinids are abhumans that were created by splicing cat DNA into human DNA. I think it makes more sense to explain the origins of why Felinids exist in 40k before talking about their history in universe, so we'll start there. The origins of Felinids don't have any referenceable sources as far as I can find. There is one persistent legend which I think the in-universe lore about Felinids supports, but it's just that. A legend, a 40k urban myth. Here's the story I've found about how Felinids came to exist. Back in the 90s, there was some kind of tournament or contest that Games Workshop ran where the winner would be able to add in a minor lore element of their own creating to existing Warhammer 40,000 lore. Now, Games Workshop, I'm assuming, not being new to nerd culture, probably had themselves prepared for a myriad of strange, fetishized requests, but they weren't prepared for the one thing that came out of the winner's mouth. Cat people. If this is how Felinids came to be, I like to imagine someone in a boardroom at Games Workshop pinching the bridge of their nose saying, of course it was a goddamn furry. And thus, the footnote of lore was born that Games Workshop is too embarrassed to acknowledge. The lore of Felinids themselves actually kind of supports this origin story, in my opinion. First and foremost, the planet that Felinids are from is called Carlos McConnell, which is a completely unhinged name for a planet that definitely had to be named after someone, but research doesn't tell me if it's someone within the company or even the winner of a contest. Carlos McConnell, the planet, was settled by humans during what is known as the Dark Age of Technology, which spanned from the 15th millennium to the 25th millennium. The Dark Age of Technology represents a period in the 40k universe where humans actually flourished and were at their peak of technological advancements. Faster than light space travel was invented during this period, letting humans push out into the galaxy further than ever before. Scientific pursuits were also at its peak, allowing humans to genetically modify themselves for a number of reasons, sometimes even hybridizing entire populations of colonists to allow them to better thrive on a new, previously uninhabited planet. It's unknown exactly how or why the people who became the Felinids were genetically altered, but their human DNA was spliced with cat DNA, creating the abhumans that are rarely seen in the Imperium today. Some older official 40k sources even go as far as to say that Felinids are unable to leave their home planet of Carlos McConnell. The lack of a concrete backstory, combined with the fact that they come from a planet that's very clearly named after a person, in my opinion, lends some credence to the legend that Felinids were created because some guy who won a contest chose to add them to the lore. But it could also be that one of the many hands that touched Warhammer 40k as an official writer did it, and like several other abhuman and xeno species, Felinids are just a fun footnote that Games Workshop prefers to not extrapolate on, because they're afraid. If ever there was a time in Warhammer's history to finally blow open the door and properly introduce Felinids into the setting, it's now, Games Workshop. That's right, I'm talking to you. Do you have any idea the potential gold mine you're sitting on? Cat people have never been more popular, and no one group of people have more disposable income than furries. Do you have any idea how much those fursuits cost? Or how much IT directors typically make? You let Fatshark be the first to put Felinids into Darktide, use it as an opportunity to see what type of cat person resonates more with 40k fans for you to base base models on, and the checks are just gonna write themselves. Think about it. We have a scant few references to what Felinids are supposed to look like in 40k, some of which actually come from Darktide.
I think I'd like to see a Felinid, but they're very rare. My beloved says Felinids are particularly beautiful. I'd like to see one very much.
And unfortunately, I'm going to have to use a trust me bro example here, but in the early days of Darktide, the male loose cannon vet would rarely have a voice line referencing Felinids. He'd call them creepy carkers and reference their big eyes. So we have some voice lines about them being beautiful, some voice lines about them being creepy, and also one other account of what Felinids might look like by a Kroot mercenary from the book Liber Xenologies. However, when Greg saw me working on my notes, he assured me that Felinids not only exist, but are the form of humans he most respects. He tells me that he has fought against them and found them to be the most efficient killers he has witnessed in the Militarum Regiment. Apparently, they show lethal cool even in the face of the most brutal opposition. When I asked if they were bestial in appearance, Greg revealed that he finds it difficult to distinguish one human from another, and that Felinids, to his eyes, looked no different from me. He also mentioned that they had claws the length of my forearm though, so I have decided that Greg is not an entirely reliable source. So this Kroot finds it difficult to tell any humans apart, even abhumans, and the Felinids he supposedly encountered serving in the guard weren't remarkably different except for having claws longer than Wolverine, which isn't the most helpful. If Felinids were introduced into the 40k universe fully by bringing them into Darktide as a playable class, how would Fatshark know what to make them look like? This is where the marketing test I mentioned earlier comes in. Darktide's player classes all come with 3 distinct personalities, and when it comes to typical depictions of cat people, there's generally 3 main kinds. There's your type that are basically anthropomorphized cats that are just standing upright. Think like Khajiit from the Elder Scrolls series. Then there's the highly hybridized versions that seem more truly half human, half cat, like the Thundercats or Captain Amalia from the movie Treasure Planet. And lastly, you have your anime cat girls and boys. Listen up, Games Workshop. So what you do is you have Fatshark make each one of these personalities a type of cat person. Give them all the same class features and talent trees. Let them specialize by building into speed, since Felinids are supposed to be extremely fast. Give them extra stamina and build specifically into improved dodging, since they're supposed to be lithe. Give them natural melee weapons that they can use in hand-to-hand style combat because they'd have claws. All the same class features, but their voices, personalities, and most importantly looks would all be based on a different type of typical cat person. The more Khajiit type would be like an anthropomorphized cat, uncanny in its appearance and kinda creepy, more grimdark. A Captain Amalia type would honestly fit more with what we hear the Seer Psyker talk about when it comes to Felinids, being strange but oddly beautiful. And the anime cat girl route would be, well, I do think they'd fit pretty well with the loose cannon vet description, because have you ever considered how fucking horrifying those giant anime eyes would be if you were to really see a person that looked like that? And it would fit with the Kroot description of them more or less looking like standard humans to him. Most importantly, presenting a Felinid class this way in Darktide would be invaluable market research for you, Games Workshop. You let the class simmer for 6 months or so, then harvest the data on what type of Felinid is the most popular for total characters created, and which one is the most popular for what people are still playing 6 months on. Bada bing, bada boom. You've got yourself a whole framework for how to make your new Felinid Astra Auxilia models for the tabletop. And that's what it's all about, right, Games Workshop? Branching out into different types of media and finding ways to harness what's popular to translate that into model sales. You can't try and tell me that isn't what you're doing. I saw those Titus model announcements. It's time to stop being embarrassed of your cat girl army, Games Workshop. It's 2025. Let the people decide what they want to see on the tabletop. Build the furry fodder and the money's just gonna roll right in, baby. You could even branch it out into wearable merchandise and make an official Games Workshop Felinid fursuit. You're hawking basic hoodies with plain insignias for $50. Your markup on a whole ass fursuit would be insane. And I'll be generous and say, just cut me in for a 1% residual of both class and physical model sales for giving you the roadmap on how to pull this off. Call me Games Workshop, shoot me an email to my business account. We'll iron out the details. I really hope you guys liked this one because my Google search results are never going to be the same after trying to find some of the clips for this. Thanks so much for watching and for all of your support. Special shout out to my top supporters, Leah S., Ben, Andrew Brown, Cabus, Rich, William McQueen, Sam Walcroft, Darkslide, Cameron, Commander Orf, Ginge Dread, Yellow 13, Ripped Limbo, El Zunix, Sam Spry, Ascend, The Blackstone Chapter Master, iQuest 8, Gerp, Rot, Old School DOS, Triton Jim, Mr. Pineapple, Helion, Dekruda, Semdira, Lurker, Tanner Lindberg, Commander Apo, Anka, Half Noman, Spazatron, Beth, Bear Plays Games, Dank Blast Beats, Lord Dominate, K Bandito, The Speedy Turtle 4, Lord Pingu, Lormok, Hard Days Mike, Mr. Schrodinger, Jason Clark, Hee Hee, Mateo, CT5334, Evan Berger, Yin, Bad Cat, Sexy Rotfly, Kron Chaos, Daniel Gerber, The Thunder Guardian, Aubrey Bessie, The Oni, and Macro.